Now you're talking about this woman, a county judge. And when Pam Bondi comes out there and says, we will come after you and we will prosecute you, we will find you, that is meant to have a chilling effect. They didn't need to.
What's your solution? Again, you cite polls, but I apologize. Adults have to do the adult job. It's not going to be popular.
You know what the adult job is? First of all, not announcing this on social media, having to take it down and then putting it back up. The adult thing to do would be to have called her in and have her come in and have a conversation about it. They didn't need to.
Greg Gutfeld turned live TV into a no-holds-barred WWE. SmackDown minus the spandex, but with twice the ego in a moment so intense. It left jaws dropping faster than Fox News ratings after a fact check. Gutfeld verbally obliterated Jessica Tarlov, delivering a takedown that was equal parts brilliance, brutality, and classic Gutfeld snark. But what set him off this time? Buckle up, this intellectual cage match escalated from zero to spicy in record time. Let's dive in.
Indoctrination. All the intersectionality,
by the way,
trans.
That's the statement. You don't think that black trans people exist or black queer people exist or
non-conforming people? That's a straw man
people?
or a straw trans. Excuse me.
Don't do that. This is serious.
No, I'm actually being serious. Just because people do not want that stuff, because it's age inappropriate, does not make them transphobic. Because you're going there.
Okay, well, let's talk about a book ban now. Out of Darkness, a young adult novel about two teens that have a relationship.
Yeah,
it's now been.
It all started as just another episode of The Five, raucous debates, coffee-fueled rants, and at least one panelist trying too hard to sound smarter than everyone else. Enter Jessica Tarlov, armed with charts, data, and a brand of faux intellectual smugness that could make even TED Talk speakers blush. Across the table was Greg Gutfeld, locked, loaded, and practically buzzing with anticipation for the inevitable showdown.
From Medicaid and Medicare to give tax breaks to the wealthy.
Not true, but okay.
It is 100%
You are spinning.
I'm not.
You are spinning so fast. I'm getting out of my eyes.
I'm looking straight ahead. Ask Josh Hawley. And I would say, and you said,
Josh?
tell him I loved his op-ed.
Right.
And Greg mentioned a staggering level of corruption. And I just got to note that the staggering level of corruption from last night's meme coin dinner.
That's what you're focusing on.
40% of Donald Trump's wealth has been accumulated.
The topic: President Biden's economic shift, or, as Gutfeld might call it, Build Back Broker. Jessica kicked things off with a monologue that sounded less like political analysis and more like a script straight from the DNC. It was peppered with rhetoric seemingly sponsored by the architects of critical race theory and glazed with an extra layer of emotional appeal.
Who forged that letter about him? Like, come on here.
Come on is actually comparing him to this. This is a math. Like, you have no reason to question the Dems about this. Are you out of your mind? They have the best doctors in the world and a patient who is arguably the most important patient in the world who gets tested pretty much weekly. They have to check him out, but somehow they decided not to do this. I'm wondering, do you believe that story, or is it possible the Democrats might be lying? Ooh, that's a tough call. Listen to Joe.
Meanwhile, Greg sat in silence, a predator biding his time in the tall grass. He didn't interrupt. He didn't flinch. He just waited, his signature smirk daring her to cross the line. And then it happened. Jessica accused conservatives of using distraction tactics, a claim as miscalculated as telling Gordon Ramsay his steak would be better frozen. You could almost hear Greg's sarcasm engines revving. His internal monologue practically broke the sound barrier. Oh, sweetheart. Bless your heart, it's go time. And with that, he unleashed a verbal tirade sharp enough to shave Elon Musk's ego, blending stand-up comedy with political commentary. Gutfeld dismantled Jessica's worldview as a concoction of liberal delusion, government overreach, and Whole Foods morality, organic, overpriced, and completely detached from reality. He mocked her for treating politics like a college seminar run by professors clinging to typewriters and outdated ideals. Progressive compassion. A hug they want to smother you with while thanking them for it, he quipped. The exchange was less a debate and more a battlefield. Jessica blinked, but Greg didn't miss a beat, framing her reliance on data as overexposed and artificial, a mirror of Instagram influencers chasing likes. Each metaphor landed with precision, detonating one after another. Gutfeld wasn't just debating. He was swinging like Muhammad Ali armed with a thesaurus, turning a political segment into an unforgettable spectacle of wit and verbal finesse.
after asking him to overturn the election, to not do his job in certifying it, he says to Mike Pence, you're too honest. When someone says you're too honest, that means that you want them to do the dirty thing, that you want them to do the bad thing. Then on page 15
you can disagree with that. You can disagree with that, but you don't arrest somebody over it.
But you can't disagree with the fact that he knew that he had lost the election because everyone in Christendom.
You're going to try to say that Donald Trump knew he lost.
There's no way.
You're going to try to prove that in court, Jessica. There's no way he's going to be proven that he knew he lost. He still thinks he's president.
Well, then the insanity defense.
Greg compared Jessica's logic to raccoons managing a 401k. Chaotic, aimless, and inexplicably sticky. The studio audience didn't just laugh. They howled. One guy in the back almost choked on his gluten-free muffin. Jessica blinked. Greg smirked. And the metaphorical table didn't just turn, it flipped, caught fire, and became a viral TikTok moment in real time. Jessica, bless her determined heart, tried to clap back with the strained composure of someone who lost the argument 5 minutes ago but still hoped a spreadsheet could salvage their dignity. She rolled out statistics with the smug confidence of a TED Talk speaker discovering pie charts for the first time, highlighting red state crime rates and urban decay. She swung her data like a silver bullet. As if Trump moonlighted as Gotham's Joker and Greg was his getaway driver. But here's the thing about facts drenched in condescension. They evaporate when confronted with charisma. And Greg, he wasn't just rebutting. He was orchestrating a roast with casual elegance. Jessica's stats might have been her Excalibur, but Greg had a chainsaw and he knew exactly how to use it.
Nice thing for you. The second half is missing. Who pays for it? You saw this with student loan theft, described as forgiveness. Who paid for it? You paid for it. You see with immigration policy, who's footing the billions and all that free stuff? You're paying for it. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. And the sooner or later you figure that out, the better off you're going to be. And that's directed at Democrats who don't understand it.
Jessica's attempt to out Greg was like bringing a butter knife to a sword fight. Her argument didn't just flounder. It was so lifeless, even conservatives wouldn't RSVP to its funeral. Greg, with a devilish grin that echoed backstage, producer chuckles, flipped the narrative yet again. Even your conservative sources are yawning. He deadpanned, cracking the room open with laughter. Jessica looked like someone realizing their parachute was actually a napkin. While Greg was already loading his next metaphor into the cannon, he likened Jessica's tone to a TED Talk at a Portland kombucha bar, earnest to the point of parody. Policy kale, he sneered, intellectual tofu. Crunchy, flavorless, and somehow still smug. The audience erupted. Even the camera operator snorted. Jessica sat in stunned silence, her lips pursed like she'd just sucked on a lemon marinated. In disappointment, clutching at relevance, she launched into another monologue, lecturing Greg with a self-righteousness that felt more like a Wikipedia footnote than a mic drop.
Cryptocurrency, who came over here to have dinner with him, a guy from South Korea.
This is not even part of this segment.
So what?
You're talking about a meme coin.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about who's corrupt and who is profiting off the American office.
Did he try to cover that up? I don't think so.
Yeah, Caroline Levitt said
You're defending an administration that covered up a dying leader, and you're sitting here going, but meme coin, meme coin.
I'm saying billions.
All right, let's give Paul a
dollars.
chance to clean it up real quick.
Meanwhile, Gutfeld lounged like a fox loose in a vegan petting zoo, leaning back with the swagger of someone who knew exactly how this was going to end. His smirk could have curdled milk. Debating Jessica, he quipped, was like arguing with an NPR podcast monotone, painfully earnest, and utterly humorless. She's like if C-SPAN and a yoga retreat had a baby, he added, his tone dripping with playful contempt. Jessica blinked, stunned, as if someone had insulted her favorite barista's pronouns. Her grand rebuttal, a jab at Greg's pants. After a segment soaked in rhetoric, data, and snark, she chose slacks as her hill to die on. Cute, but weak, like throwing a cotton ball at AFLAMETHROWER. Greg didn't even dignify it with a response. Why would he? By that point he'd already drop-kicked her argument into next week's news cycle. Jessica clung to her smirk, but it wasn't confidence, it was delusion in a costume of dignity.
They're trying to present themselves as a loyal staff protecting an incapacitated leader, and yet the policies were anything but feeble. He may have been a mess, but the policies were a coherent list of woke desires. And true, the decisions may have possibly destroyed the country. That wasn't a byproduct of Biden's brain. That was deliberate and determined, and we need to find out who that person was. This is what Trump is talking about when he's mentioned the auto pen. This isn't just about a cover-up of Joe's incapacity.
Greg Gutfeld strutted into the debate like a stand-up comic on a mission. And by the time he was done, Jessica Tarlov's carefully curated arguments were little more than rhetorical ashes. While she had prepared with the meticulousness of a law student defending a thesis armed with statistics, PowerPoints, and a demeanor straight out of a corporate seminar, Greg came ready to deliver a masterclass in verbal demolition. Twitter erupted in its usual cacophony. Liberals tried to salvage the moment by dubbing Jessica the Queen of Composure. As though passive-aggressive smirks and blank stares equated to heroism, conservatives, meanwhile, crowned Greg the MVP of the night. His snarky one-liners cementing him as the reigning king of televised takedowns. Jessica aimed to inspire. Instead, she became a meme. Let's be real, this wasn't just a win for Greg, it was a complete obliteration. Jessica's arsenal of data and carefully rehearsed talking points didn't stand a chance against Greg's scorched earth monologue, dripping with sarcasm and timed to perfection. She brought a spreadsheet to a flamethrower fight, and it showed. While Jessica read statistics like a malfunctioning GPS, Greg was busy dismantling her points with quips sharp enough to warrant legal.
That was a bad representation by Trump. It has to be to their detriment. Who lost? No one.
But basically, everyone who is defending Donald Trump in this, from Kevin O'Leary to some folks here, is saying it is okay to falsify your business records, to issue false financial statements, to commit conspiracy for insurance fraud.
Well,
when he goes out there,
where's the fraud?
The fraud is, and David Brooks lays this out really nicely.
But
Donald Trump continually.
There were 3 sets of books. Where do you get that from? Where do you get that from?
Legal regulation in some states. Her earnest citations, delivered with the smugness of someone freshly enamored with Excel, were no match for Greg's razor-sharp wit. By the time it was over, Jessica was clinging to her binder like it was a life raft, while Greg casually delivered punchlines that lit up social media. His zinger about intellectual tofu trended on TikTok before the segment even ended. Meanwhile, Jessica was lauded in think pieces for her grace under fire, a consolation prize as hollow as it was predictable. The truth is, Jessica approached the debate as a battle of ideas, while Greg treated it as ideological theater. Her lengthy explanations and data points sounded like a blog post no one wanted to finish. His retorts landed like a comedian's closing set at a packed house. She spoke in paragraphs. He replied in punchlines. She aimed for nuance. He went straight for the jugular, and the audience, they weren't there for a TED Talk, they wanted blood by the end of the night. It was clear, Greg Gutfeld wasn't just debating, he was performing. Jessica, bless her heart, learned the hard way that logic might win respect, but it's humor and timing that win the crowd. While she quoted polling data, Greg dropped the mic. He didn't just win the debate, he rewrote the playbook, burned the stage, and left Jessica standing in the rubble, binder in hand, still searching for the audience's attention.